Welcome everyone to the American School Health Association webinar titled Supporting Healthy Behavioral Outcomes, Resources for Engaging Skills-Based Health Education. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Amanda in just a moment, but I'd like to thank you for joining us, and hopefully you are also joining us in our mission, which is, oh, I have to agree to being recorded before I can advance my slide. The mission, which is to transform all schools into places where every student learns and thrives. The American School Health Association envisions healthy students who learn and achieve in safe and healthy environments, nurtured by caring adults, functioning within coordinated school health and community support systems. When you join us, you have several benefits. One of them is you get the Journal of School Health. Both hard copy and digital are available. And you get CEUs. You can earn those through a variety of methods. You also get discounts on some nice features. And so that's a nice perk. And then the part that I really enjoy the most is the shared information, networking with people who have a variety of experiences and expertise across the school health field. So with that, I would like to welcome our presenter, Amanda. Amanda Nichols is with RMC Health, and she's going to talk to us today about how to teach those vital health skills that young people need to thrive within the setting of health education. So Amanda, you can take over the screen.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you everyone for being here today and for your engagement in our learning. So as Wendy said, my name is Amanda Nichols. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a professional learning facilitator at RMC Health. RMC Health is a nonprofit just outside the Denver metro area. And RMC Health provides professional learning and capacity building that empowers champions for healthy young people, like all of the people with us here today, so students of every background can live their best lives. RMC Health provides a variety of services that promote healthy schools. So if you're interested in learning more about the work that we do and the services we provide, please reach out to me. My email will be available in a follow-up, and you can visit our website at rmc.org. Here are our objectives for our time together today. The first is to explain why skills-based health instruction is necessary to meet the goals of health education. And our second objective is to use RMC Health's health skill guides to align skills-based and health education instruction to national health education standards. While this is a webinar and I'll be talking quite a bit, I do want to make sure that I'm actively engaging all of you in the learning. So in order to do that, we'll be using 3 different tools within the Zoom platform. First, we'll be using the chat feature, which many of you have already used when you came in to introduce yourself. I'll be prompting you throughout our time together to continue to share your thoughts, ideas, and questions as we go. We'll also be using the annotate tool, which I'll be sure to provide visual instructions so you know how to access that tool and share your learning and engagement. And then lastly, we'll be using the reaction tools within Zoom. And again, I'll be sure to give you step-by-step instructions for how you do that. So it's really lovely to see everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and just as a note, if you are on a Chromebook, you will not have access to the annotate tool, but you can just use the chat instead for any of those activities. So we're going to get started with a warm-up, which we'll use the annotate tool for. You'll access the annotate tool by going to the top of your Zoom screen and clicking the View Options button. Then you'll click the word annotate, and that will open a separate toolbar. And for both of our activities today, you're going to be using that stamp. I've put a circle under the X, but you can use whatever symbol is speaking to you today. So maybe you're feeling very in love, you want to use the heart, or maybe you're feeling like a celebrity, you want to use that star. Use whichever symbol is speaking to you today. So for our warm-up, I want you to answer the following question. What health skill have you used the most in the past 6 months? Again, you're going to use that annotate tool to put a stamp on the box next to the health skill you have used the most, and then you can share whatever you'd like in the chat about that health skill. So how you've used it recently, why it's been so important. Wow, we have been using so many of these health skills. So analyzing influences, accessing valid and reliable resources, interpersonal communication. Oh man, and I don't know if that red line is meant to show that you've just been using all of them, that you haven't even been able to isolate one that you've been using a lot. And I'm seeing some hearts, so I think that's an agreement for that. So I'll give folks a little bit more time. And again, share in the chat, fill the chat up with your experiences with these skills, why you've been using it, how you've been using it. I'd love to hear from all of you. Thanks, Leah, for that heart. So how have we been using these? Go ahead and share that in the chat. Lots of hearts, lots of people, you know, in love, feeling love today. So Melanie shared, oh, hi, Melanie, good to see you. Using the template for goal setting, and it is a game changer. Used it for all of our units. So it sounds like Melanie is using these skills in her instruction. Goal setting guide, success for the rest of the year. Self-management with sleep hygiene. Yes, Kathy, share me your secrets because I feel like I need to work on that. iMessages and active listening, refusal skills, the organization. It seems like all I do is correct misinformation and point to accurate sources. I feel like that has been the #1 skill we've been using. Well, thank you for engaging in that warm up. Let me go ahead and clear out our annotations. And thank you for sharing about your experiences. That's just so valuable for me. Access valid and reliable resources, so much changing with CDC recommendations and state mandates. Absolutely. SMART goals for improving dimensions of wellness, and educating on what an accurate source is. Sometimes we're educating students, and maybe sometimes we're educating our loved ones about that, right? So now that we've engaged a little bit with these health skills, let's just give a foundational understanding of what we mean when we say skills-based health education. So the goals of health education are first to develop health literacy. This means students are able to take the information and skills that we teach them and apply it to their lives so that they are empowered and can advocate for themselves. The second goal of health education is to maintain those positive health behaviors. So we know that students come into our classrooms with tons of positive health behaviors already at their disposal. And our goal as health educators is to make sure they stay on that path. Now, we know that a normal part of adolescent development is to take risks and maybe do some things that are a little unhealthy for us. Again, students are not abnormal in their tendency to do this. And if we were in person and I said, I'm sure we could all tell stories about risky or unhealthy behaviors we've engaged in, you'd all kind of chuckle and avoid my eye contact so you wouldn't have to reveal any embarrassing stories. But we do want to give students the skills and supports they need to address those risky and unhealthy behaviors so that they aren't derailing their progress towards healthy adolescent development. And then lastly, we want to support students in delaying the onset of use or experimentation with risky or unhealthy behaviors. It is really hard, probably impossible, to be 100% healthy 100% of the time. And again, as adults, there are some behaviors that we engage in that may be labeled as unhealthy because they support us in other ways, like our mental health, or maybe just giving us a break. Our goal with students is to delay that risky behavior as long as possible, because we know the longer you wait to engage with things like alcohol or other substance use, the less likely that substance use will turn into long-term negative health outcomes. So this is what we're trying to accomplish with our health education. And what we know from research is that learning health content alone will not reach those goals of health education. But teaching students health skills with functional health information will maintain those healthy behaviors, address those unhealthy behaviors, and delay those risky behaviors. Another way to think about this is even if I have all of the information in the world about a particular health topic, unless I have the skills to navigate the world and do something with that information, there's only so far I'll go with just that health information alone. So we're going to use that annotate tool again, and I can already see this is a big hit because there are hearts and check marks already on the screen. So for our next activity, I want you to think about your experience as a student, specifically the K-12 experience. And I want you to use that annotate tool to put an X on the spectrum that answers the following question. Did your health education focus more on health skills or health content? So again, you'll put an X wherever you are there. And for some of us, we might not have had health education. So there's a box in the upper left-hand corner for you to share your experience there. I know, Leah, it's so sad when we experience that. And most of the annotation tools are on that content, which, is not surprising. I've done this activity quite a bit. We have one little X over at skills. We have some kind of in the middle. We have one, which is one too many and that didn't have health education. Oh, there's more. I hate that. Oh, Jamie, I'm so sorry you didn't get health education as a student. That's just so unfortunate. So our goal today and in our instruction is to start to shift these annotations from the content side and get more and more folks either to the middle or even leaning towards a little bit more to that skills side. And RMC Health has developed RMC Health skill guides that you'll be able to use to support you in your effort to shift away from content, which is many of our experiences, and provide that skills-based health education experience, which we know supports those goals of health education. So I'm going to go ahead and clear all of our beautiful drawings and stamps. And then I'm going to go ahead and disable the annotate tool because we won't be using that for a little while, and I'll get distracted by all of your hearts, and then that'll be very upsetting to everyone. So when we're thinking about skills-based health education, we want to make sure we're using backwards design because developing skills and reaching those goals of health education, they're a marathon, not a sprint. And you would never train for a marathon in a single day, and students will not reach these goals of health education within a single lesson, a single year. They will be working on reaching these goals before us, and they will continue to reach towards these goals after us. So RMC Health encourages backwards design, and we use backwards design within our health skill guides. So the first step to backwards design is using those standards. You could use the National Health Education Standards. Perhaps you're using the health behavior outcomes from the Health Education Curriculum Assessment Tool. RMC Health Skill Guides are aligned to both of these documents, or perhaps you're using your state standards. From there, you design your assessments, which are aligned to those standards, allows students to demonstrate their mastery of those health skills. Then you provide those engaging practice opportunities, which allow students to practice the skills and to prepare for your assessments, and most importantly, the real world. And that allows you to introduce and think about your instruction. So what functional health information will you provide for them? You'll introduce the importance of the skill and introduce the steps of the skill. And the guides that we'll preview today help you develop all of these stepping stones so that students can finish that marathon, can cross that goal, and reach those goals of health education. And when I'm referring to the health skills, these are the health skills that I'm referring to. These come to us from the National Health Education Standards, and specifically focusing on standards 2 through 8. So we saw these in our warm-up. They are analyzing influences, access valid and reliable resources, interpersonal communication, decision-making, goal setting, self-management, and advocacy for self and others. And the idea is that once students are able to master all 7 of these skills, we're really reaching those goals of health education in terms of developing health literacy, maintaining those healthy behaviors, addressing the risky or unhealthy behaviors, and giving them the tools they need to delay those risky behaviors as long as possible. So with that foundational understanding, let's go ahead and look at RMC Health's health skill guides. And as I'm going through, I would love to see your reaction to these guides. So when you hear something about the guides that you're really excited about, go ahead and use the thumbs up tool or the heart, again, whatever's speaking to you, so that I know you're hearing something that you're really excited about. That'll let me know that we're on the right track and we're really giving a resource that will be valuable to the field. So these guides would not be possible without the amazing health educators behind them. So when RMC Health was starting this project and starting the update of our original guides, it was really important to us that we were engaging health educators who were in the classroom doing this type of instruction. It was really important to us that we did not become disconnected from health educators and that all of these guides were realistic to the reality of what was going on in classrooms. So we didn't want to create something that teachers just didn't see themselves being able to do. So Venetia McGee, Lindsay Galtney, Melanie Lynch, and Susan Husum were integral in developing all of the content that you'll see in the guides when we preview them in just a moment. In addition to our amazing health educators that contributed content and learning activities to these guides, we also had fabulous contributors and partners who provided feedback and guidance on what would be helpful to skills-based health education and those in the field. Jamie Hurley, who works at the Colorado Department of Education, previously an RMC Health colleague, was really the mastermind behind the original iteration of these guides. And so he was really crucial in providing us feedback and making sure we were living up to the essence of the original vision. Jess Lawrence, who is the Director of Care and Guidance and was the former RMC Health Board Chair, really pushed us to revisit these guides and make sure that we were updating them to be responsive to the field. Jessica Napier, Shape America National Health Educator of the Year, provided feedback and guidance. And Jody, yes, yay, Mary Connolly, the woman, the myth, the legend, who wrote the book on skills-based health education. Yes, she just got inducted into the Shape America Hall of Fame. She was also a contributor and partner and provided feedback to the guides. She also knows how to rock a mean lipstick when she presents. So that's where I'm getting my red lip inspiration from tonight and today. So yes, amazing to have Mary Connolly on this team. And we also would not have been able to move this work forward without the amazing RMC Health staff. So Cheryl Miller, who's our former RMC Health CEO and president, secured the funding that we would need to provide all of these resources for free. That was a really important part of our approach. We didn't want to create any barriers to accessing these. And so Cheryl Miller was integral in making sure we could secure those funds. And then Emily Shore and Michelle LaCour, who provided me project management support and editing support so that these documents could be in the state that they are. So thank you to all of the folks that have contributed to these amazing guides that we'll get to see today. So those are all of the people behind the guides. And I do want to highlight quickly what we were doing and how we approached developing this resource. So first, all of the guides are aligned not just to the National Health Education Standards, but also to the performance indicators themselves. So every step doesn't connect back just to the standard, but each performance indicator outlined by the grade span. We also know that social emotional learning has become an increased topic, an increased system and framework that schools are using. So there are often times that we incorporate the CASEL competencies of self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, and social awareness to extend beyond the performance indicators. One way you'll see this is we included a lot of reflection so that students are developing that metacognition and self-awareness to really integrate these skills into their lives. It was also important to us that we include culturally responsive teaching practices. We wanted to make sure that teachers felt equipped to address these skills in a way that honored all of the students and all of their identities. One way you'll see this in the guide is we provided language of health literacy, which are meant to support all students, but specifically address the learning needs of emerging multilingual students so that they can feel empowered to develop their own language skills around these health skills. We also wanted to provide suggested learning activities for teachers, and this really required us to strike the right balance between a full-fledged curriculum. We really were not trying to put another health ed curriculum out there. We were really looking to have something that teachers could use to supplement existing curriculums or to spark their creativity and to help them see what skills-based health education could look like in action. And then lastly, we wanted this to be an equitable resource by providing free access. So all of the tools and resources that I'll preview today are available for free on our website and will continue to be for the very foreseeable future. So we'll get a chance to look at one of these guides in a moment, but here's the anatomy of the health skill guides. Each guide provides background information to each skill and why it's important to the goals of health education. Also, within the first few pages, we have some quick teaching tips that teachers can read and be able to immediately implement in their instruction. All of the skills are broken down into student-friendly language for steps and sub-skills so that we're able to chunk what are really complex skills into manageable steps for students to master. We also provide that language of health literacy and valuable vocabulary so students aren't able to just walk the walk, but they're able to really talk the talk as well. The teaching progression with suggested learning activities for every step and sub-skill, which means there is a suggested learning activity for every performance indicator of the National Health Education Standards. We provide assessment tools, content connections, and then classroom posters that can be displayed within our classrooms. So those are all of the pieces within these guides. And let's take a moment to just deep dive into one of them. So we're going to look a little more closely at interpersonal communication. And I selected this one because it is a bit of a beast. I refer to it as kind of the Russian doll of health skills. There are lots of skills within it. So we broke interpersonal communication down into 4 different stages. Stage 1, communication techniques, which focus on the foundational speaking and listening skills that students need to be able to advocate for their health and engage in these other stages of interpersonal communication. Stage 2, boundary setting and refusal skills, allows students to identify the behaviors that they feel comfortable doing and uncomfortable doing and give them the strategies they need to maintain those boundaries in their lives. Stage 3, conflict resolution. They're able to use effective conflict management or resolution skills. And then stage 4, collaboration, which provides students strategies that they need to work well with others and to accomplish goals within a group. Thanks for those hearts and thumbs up. That's super helpful. Glad you're excited to see those things. So we're going to take a little bit closer of a look into one of these stages of interpersonal communication. This slide just shows you all of the different strategies that are available within those stages. And I'm going to launch a poll, and I'm going to have you select the stage of interpersonal communication that you would like to take a closer look on. And the one with the most votes we'll spend some more time with. So we have about, whoa, man, so many, 20% voted. I'll give folks a couple more minutes. It's a pretty tight race. All right, it's pretty close between 2. I'll give you about 30 more seconds to give your votes. And right now we're in between refusal skills and conflict resolution. So again, I'll give about 15 more seconds. Votes have slowed a little bit, but if you're like me and you need a lot of think time, I'll make sure you get those. All right, so I'm going to end the poll, share our results, and our winner is refusal skills and boundary setting. So I'm going to go through that one a little bit more. So let's look at the steps for grade 6-8, refusal skills and boundary setting. So here is the classroom poster that's available to download on our website. For grade 6-8, refusal skills and boundary setting are split into 4 different steps. The first step is to prompt students to think about their boundaries. So what are the things they're comfortable doing or uncomfortable doing? And what are the things they want people to treat them and don't want people to treat them? Then we prompt students to think about the situations that maybe they're confronted with their boundaries being crossed. How do we give them that metacognitive ability to analyze the situation and know better what's going on? That allows them to more effectively uphold their boundary in step 3, where they'll use a variety of refusal and assertion skills to uphold those boundaries. And then lastly, we end with that reflection piece. The other poster that's available on our website looks like this, which provides the steps, which I just reviewed, as well as the sub-skills. So even within these steps, we realized that there needed to be some further chunking for students and teachers. So here you can see the different skills that make up that step. So within step 3, we have a variety of refusal and assertion skills that students can use to make sure they're able to effectively uphold their boundaries. And then on the left-hand side of these posters, you have that language of health literacy, which develops the language needs that students will need to master these skills. So the way that you'll access these materials is first you'll go to rmc.org/health skills. You'll select the health skill you want to explore, and then you'll download sections or the whole guide. So I'll go through our website now. So bear with me as I switch my screen share to our website. So let me find that. Beautiful. And if I could just get a couple reactions that you are seeing an adorable group of kids and you're seeing our RMC Health website, that would be super helpful. Great, thank you, Leah, for that thumbs up. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Camille. Beautiful, thanks for that reinforcement. So here you would go and see all of our health skill guides. You'll find the health skill that you're most interested in looking at. We'll be looking at interpersonal communication. Just note that there isn't a standard 1, comprehend concepts, because that is a health content standard, and we just focused on the health skills themselves. So, we wanted to look at interpersonal communication, so I'll click on that. And then we're focusing on boundary setting and refusal skills. So I'll click on that. And then you'll see that each health skill guide is separated by grade span, grades pre-K through 2, grades 3-5, grades 6-8, and grades 9-12. So we're looking at 6-8. So here you can see an overview of the skill. Again, it has that background information into why that skill is important and how we approached it. Gives you a framework for things to keep in mind for this grade span. Goes into the stage of interpersonal communication and provides a brief overview of the steps. And then here are the steps descriptions with sub-skills, and then the overview ends with those quick teaching tips that you can see and be able to apply. You also have access to the posters that I just saw or just showed you, and as well as that second version. And then we separated the guides into chunks. So if you were just looking at, okay, how can I support students in identifying their boundaries? Instead of downloading the whole guide, you can just click on that step 1, and here you can see the sub skills, valuable vocabulary, suggested learning activities, language of health literacy, and then important teaching notes to keep in mind as you implement these activities in your classroom. The other sections to just look for are the assessment tools, resource bank, and content connections. So again, we provide example assessments for you, how these skills can be used outside of the health education space. And then any of the resources that are mentioned within this teaching progression can be found in the resource bank at the end of these documents. If you do want access to the whole guide, you can see that there at the bottom. So you can open that, and that downloads the full 18-page guide for stage 2, boundary setting and refusal skills for grades 6-8. Before I go back and hear about your impressions, I do just want to preview one other health skill so that you can see maybe one that isn't as intense. So let's just take a look at access valid and reliable resources. So again, you'll click there. You have our different grade spans. Let's look at pre-K through 2. So we have our overview, again, provides that background information. Then we have our steps. So pre-K through 2 for access valid and reliable resources focuses on trusted adults. And then we have those teaching progressions, assessment tools, and then the whole guide. So those are the resources and the health skill guides that are available to you for free on our website. I'm going to go ahead and pivot back to our PowerPoint. Again, if I could just get some hearts or thumbs up that I've successfully shown you our PowerPoint. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Regina. Super helpful. So I'd love to hear from all of you based on the preview today, or if you've had access to these guides prior. And in the chat, share your impressions and thoughts about these updated guides. So go ahead and share that in the chat now. What are your impressions? Melanie, thank you. They are a game changer, and Melanie's only a little bit biased since she worked on it, but she's a very wonderful health educator, so take her impressions at face value. Camille, thank you. Love, love, love. These look amazing. Can't wait to explore. Look very good. Excellent framework. Beautiful. Even though I teach high school, I'm really pleased to see resources for pre-K through 2. The resources look really comprehensive, and I will definitely use them. And Sarah, the other thing that I love is for high school, go look at the younger grades, because there can be great hook activities that you could bring into high school. So maybe it's used as a way to get students interested. So for example, for refusal skills, which we just saw, there's this great activity where you put a circle on the carpet, and then students practice crossing that line, and then you set rules about whether or not they can't. That would be a great activity to introduce that idea of boundaries to high school. So please, I encourage everyone to really look at these skills from that pre-K through 12 experience. Great tools to have. I look forward to using them. Can't wait to implement the activities. You've used them in the past and will continue to do so. That's great to hear, Michelle. What other things? Didn't know about the guides, think it will be useful. Hopefully, Regina, it will be. Let me know once you start investigating them, and happy to connect with you. So with that, while all of these things are available for free on our website, we were getting requests from folks that they would like some materials that they could purchase and kind of supplement these guides. So here are additional resources that are available for purchase on our website. So the first thing that's available for purchase are the poster sets. The first set of posters is a set of 2 posters that are illustrating the health skills and national health education standards. So those posters look like what's seen on the left-hand side of your screen. So the front goes over the skills with those icons, and then the second poster has the actual national health education standards on them. The other set of posters that we sell are a double-sided poster set that I previewed earlier that has the step sequence on one side and then the steps and sub skills on the other. That poster set comes with 11 posters total because that includes all the stages of interpersonal communication and the advocacy of self and others posters as well. The other resource that we developed are student cue cards. So these are meant to be used as manipulatives within your instruction so that you can give students something to literally grab onto when they're learning these skills. So these are 4x6 cue cards that have all 11 sets. And I actually have a set in front of me that I'll hold up to the camera. So again, students can actually hold these and be able to pick them up and share them with each other. And then on the back, you have that language of health literacy and valuable vocabulary. So we're reinforcing those language skills along with the skills themselves. And then lastly, we do have available for purchase, if you just love these guides and want them to be in your classroom, we do have a binder which has all 7 health skill guides. That's indexed with dividers so that you can add your teaching notes and materials as well. So again, all of these things are available for purchase on our website. I'm going to go ahead and share the link to the order form in the chat. We will share this out in the follow-up email as well. But if you just want to take a look to familiarize yourself with those products, and if you have any questions about them, you can reach out to me or at our info@rmc.org email address. And then lastly, we do have trainings available for skills-based health education that RMC Health provides. So we have an introduction to skills-based health education, daily lesson planning, mastery, and assessment. We have a training on building a safe and inclusive community in health education. We have a session on practice in skills-based health ed and assessment. And then in partnership with Karen Guidance, we're offering deep dives into the National Health Education Standards. It's an 8-part series that focuses on one standard per week so that you really get that comprehensive understanding of these standards. So if you're interested in any of these services or resources, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Would love to talk about how you're implementing skills-based health ed and how RMC Health can support your efforts to do so. So with that, we have come to our closing. Our closing activities are in the chat. I want you to share one way you plan on using the RMC Health Health Skill Guides to support skills-based health education. So again, in that chat, share one way you plan on using these guides to support skills-based health education. Jessica, I'm excited to dive into the academic language. Beautiful. It's so lovely to be able to give students that language that they need to be successful, sharing with your other K-8 supervisors, designing lessons using more backwards design techniques, going to share these with your team, writing our curriculum this summer. So this will be what I provide our curriculum coordinator. Beautiful. Planning with my colleagues, take time to review them. I'm looking forward to adding more activities into my classes. Awesome. Provide health education to boys and girls this summer. We are hosting high school interns. We'll use these guides to design our curriculum. Would love to hear more about that, Julia. One of my big dreams is to work with young people to co-design some lessons. So please share your experience, reach out. I would love to connect. Updating our middle school curriculum, supplement the activities that we already use. Brian, exactly, that's what these tools are made for. We'll be using this to update our curriculum, lesson plans and new activities, and enhance materials that exist. Beautiful. So it's so exciting to see how widely these tools can be used and will be used, and really to affect change at all of the different levels of skills-based health ed. I can't wait to use cards and activities by using the information and make a game from some of them in a good way to achieve student outcomes. Absolutely. That was we thought, man, how do we really bring these skills to life and give students something to hang on to? So glad you're excited to see those student cue cards. So with that, I don't think I have ever ended early. I usually plan far too much content for the time that I have. But with that, I'll open it up for questions. So what questions do you have? You can share those in the chat, and I'll be sure to address them. I'll give folks a moment. Do you have any suggestions on transitioning from content-based units to skills-based units? Yes. So RMC Health uses a framework called 1/3, 2/3. So the first thing I recommend doing is pulling a lesson plan from like a week. So look at your week's worth of lessons and literally count out the number of minutes that students are learning content versus practicing skills. So it's important to see where you are as a health educator. Then see, okay, am I at 1/3 content and 2/3 skill? That's what RMC Health sees as kind of the golden ratio. And if you're way over, which I've seen a lot of health educators be almost like 3/4 or 4/5 content, really think about, okay, how can I scale back my content to just the functional health information that students need to then learn those skills and start to transition your time away from that content to those skill developments. Melanie, thanks. You did such a great job explaining and you have no questions. That's beautiful. Are all the costs for materials on your website? Brian, all of the costs on the materials are in that order form that I sent, and I will include that in the follow-up email. I think it's gotten lost in the chat, but we'll be sure to share that, and all of the costs are in that order form. Any other questions? Oh, thank you, Sarah, for finding that, being the chat sleuth and putting it in there so people can see it. Thank you so much. I think you're a facilitator's best friend, Sarah. Way to go. Any other questions? Thank you, Camille. I'm glad it was informative.
And I'll just interject. We will be sending out a follow-up email within the next day or so, and it will include a link to evaluation, the recording, presentation slides, and any other resources that Amanda would like to share with us all. In the meantime, I am going to pop the evaluation link in the chat though, so if you guys just want to go ahead and take care of your eval now, you can do so, but if you don't have time, you will get it again in an email.
Thank you, Caitlin. And that's all we have for you today. So if there aren't any more questions, you can feel free to log out. I'm also, here until 1. So if you want to hang out and just chat, would love to connect with you.
And before you log out, this is Wendy. I would just like to do a little bit of closure with you. Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm a big believer in teaching health skills, and so I love hearing this messaging and seeing these fantastic resources. And I'd like to remind you that you can earn CEUs, continuing education units, for this workshop. And you have the evaluation link. Look for that follow-up email. It will also include the evaluation that you need to complete in order to get your CEUs. And most importantly and most excitedly, we would like to invite you to ASHA's virtual conference. And we are going to be meeting together July 19, 20, and 21 via distance learning. And there will be lots of opportunities for learning from school health advocates across the country of all different job descriptions and roles, and plenty of opportunities for networking. So I hope you will join us there. And with that, hopefully you would like to become a member of ASHA, and you can contact us there or visit the website if you have questions about that. So thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Thank you all so much. And Wendy, I'm very sorry for skipping right to the end. So
that's okay. When you're done, right? Thanks, Amanda.